Glenn, will you?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Chandler?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It is with honor and pride that I want to present to the entire delegation, to the entire convention, New Hampshire's County Statewide LNA of the Year, Erin Higgins, and along to make the nomination, or to repeat the nomination that she originally made, is Becky Mason, our Director of Nursing. So if Erin and Becky could come forward.
Erin, every year we get to nominate somebody for an award for the state, and this year we were lucky enough that our LNA got it. Basically, this is an LNA of small stature, but has a smile as big as the sky. She is a special woman with a true role model for all licensed nursing assistants. Erin enters Mountain View community each day with a smile and a sense of team and family. She takes great pride in the care she delivers to each and every resident. They are always safe, clean, neat, comfortable, and happy, and above all, feeling special. Erin is there for all the special moments and encourages the residents and families to celebrate them to the fullest, assisting any way she can to make them even more memorable. She is a great listener, joining residents in laughter as well as tears. She is always smiling and has a wonderful positive attitude that carries over to her residents. Her can-do attitude is infectious. She is often asked to assist in covering extra shifts, which she is always willing to do to keep the residents safe and cared for. She goes above and beyond even when working extra to make her residents feel as if they are in their home and they are the most important individual to have their needs and wants met. Erin is respected by her peers, residents, and all staff at Mountain View Community who work with her. She is loved by the residents. Some of the comments from her peers, residents, and managers are always a very positive attitude with a smile on her face, very helpful, and she loves us by showing us in her actions and taking excellent care of us, makes any new employee feel like part of the team to the point where they want to work where she's scheduled to work. Residents just love her caring ways. She's very flexible and adaptable to changes in schedule or assignment and is a great team player. If Erin is having a stressful day, you'd never know it because she's always got a smile and she's always caring. Additionally, Erin is a shining example for all licensed nursing assistants on their true profession, what their true profession is about, that of caring for others in a professional and personal manner that maintains the residents' dignity and respect as an individual. She is one of the most professional individuals that I know, and because of that, I nominated her for LNA of the Year.
Yay.
And so that everyone knows that this is a peer award, okay? It's not, the people in the nursing home need to nominate the person for LNA of the Year. So it's especially, I think, for me anyhow, heartwarming that not only do your peers respect you, but obviously the state award shows what a great employee you are, and we appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, before you sit down, could I get a picture of the two of you together?
You could, Howie.
I wasn't going to take note for it.
Oh, yeah.
It's smiling. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She should run for county commissioner.
I do have some business that we need to take care of before we go into the Old Nursing Home presentation. And that is, for some reason or other, we have managed not to approve any minutes since since December 12th. And so I know that you've all received them. I know that if you had questions or comments, that you would have sent them to Michelle. And so I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of December 12th, 2012.
So moved.
Yes. I was going to do them all at once. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So,
Yes?
I'm really sorry to bring this up, but I do recall that there was a problem with some of the
And-
minutes and that we did discuss those.
and
so
they
I
were-
thought we had approved those.
No. But they
Okay.
were corrected.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the corrected minutes?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Can I interrupt? I'm so sorry, but I requested that we got copies of these to be distributed. They're here? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. January 28th, February 22nd, March 11th, March 18th, and March 27th.
I still move.
Right. Second, thank you, Tom.
Remove?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I emailed out to everyone something that looked like this, okay, on Bonnet Page and Stone that they had sent to us. Did everyone bring their copies with them? Did anyone not bring their copies? Maybe that's it. Everybody else?
I think, I must have missed it.
I had it, it must be sitting in the printer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love these.
We need one. Do you have one more?
I have one. I took a few copies myself. I do have a few copies, actually.
Okay,
Does anyone else?
everybody else?
I have a
Okay.
couple extra copies if there's some people that don't have them.
No, I think we're in good shape. Okay. I did not mail them to the commissioners. Emailed them to the commissioners. So, okay.
Tim was just in my pocket 2 seconds ago. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Did you recognize me?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Representative Aldrin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, just getting my stuff together. As you all know, there's the nursing home annex, which is somewhat always termed as being the old nursing home. As part of the nursing home subcommittee, part of our charge was to meet and discuss what we should do with that facility over there, that physical plant. And we met a couple of times. We took a tour of the facility, and we had good meetings and discussions that were well attended. At the conclusion of the second meeting, we put forth a motion, and the Bonnet Page and Stone worksheet that you were given was part of that motion. And that motion was passed 4-0 with one member absent. And essentially, the motion was stated as this, is that the committee recommended to the delegation that we remove the 4 wings which is sometimes referred to as being 2 wings, but the 4 corridors that go down, that those 4 be removed, and that the remaining core be renovated to a limit of $1 million using the Bonnet Page and Stone recommendation or example that they use on page 2. If you use options 2, 3, 4, I'll let you get a chance to get to page 2. If you get to options 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12, that has a total project budget of $980,000. So that is what the motion was, okay, as to recommend to the delegation. However, the subcommittee encouraged the commissioners to put, let me just, and to let you know what those options do, okay, is essentially.
Would you read the numbers again?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. The numbers are 2, 3, it's on page 2.
Oh,
That tells
okay.
you. You go to page 2, right there.
Okay.
It's options 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12. And essentially what that does is it removes those 4 corridors of the 2 wings. It removes approximately the front 5,000 square feet of the 15,000 square foot core, or about 1/3, the front 1/3. It then puts a new frost wall in the front there. It puts a new roof on the 10,000 square feet that are remaining. It allows $75,000 for upgrading the maintenance area, $100,000 for laundry improvements. The $270,000 is number 8. That's to re-roof the area. It pays for the demolition of the 4 wings and the front 5,000 square feet of building. That is the options 2, 3, 4 in the front there. So as you can see, it's 2, 3, 4. That's the demolition and the putting on of the frost wall in the front. 2, 3, 4. 8, 9, and 10 is to re-roof the area, the laundry improvements, and the maintenance storage area. And then number 12 is for what they call soft cost, was for the design, a contingency to give them a little wiggle room just in case, some of these estimates come over what they're estimating now, and the equipment necessary to maybe put in there. And that gives a total of $980,000. Now, what it doesn't include, I think that's of note, is that number 6 is $300,000. That is not included, and that was for the renovation of approximately 3,000 square feet for the entry of the New Hampshire Cooperative Extension, to renovate that for them to move in. Okay? Now, what the motion is not saying is, we're not saying that that's not possible, but that's a separate motion and a separate issue. This $980,000, or I'm sorry, it was $1 million according to the motion, is our thought process is that we're going to use the bond money left over from the new nursing home. Okay, so we need a 2/3 vote to make that, to see if that's a pass. You need a 2/3 vote. In the past, we had a little bit of, we couldn't make a decision on a 2/3 level about what to do with cooperative extension. So that's why we've left that part out, and that's to be dealt with separately. It doesn't mean that we can't, at a future date, have a capital budget for $300,000 to do that, if that is the delegation's desire in the future. But that's a separate issue. So having said that, we do recognize that, the building may have some intrinsic value for other purposes. But as you might recall, we started this nursing home project 5 years ago now? 4 at least? And, from that point, we've always known that we're going to have this annex. And nothing has moved forward of any substantial nature. So what we recommended to the commissioners was that during this interim period is that they put forth RFPs, requests for proposals, to seek individuals who may be willing to invest some upfront money to move into that front 5,000 square feet, or to move in essentially any part, was the spirit of the motion, any part of that 15,000 square foot core. If they were essentially able to come up with enough upfront money such that the county is still only paying that $1 million. If we end up with 15,000 square feet, the county spends $1 million, and then we offer someone 5,000 square feet for, essentially they have to come up with about $200,000 up front, and then we would offer them a long-term lease for basically next to nothing, so they would recoup their costs by being able to be there for whatever it might compute out to be, whatever their best negotiation is, 15 years, 20 years, whatever they can do. But that was the spirit of the motion, was as long as they could keep that, our cost of the county down to $1 million, if they could find someone else who wanted to invest, then the delegation would consider that. But we needed to move forward, and they're encouraged to get these RFPs out because to date, essentially no RFPs have been advanced to help encourage people to make a request, So that's, I guess, the background and where we were at. During that, and this was essentially around mid-April, I can't remember the exact date, but it was around mid-April that we had that meeting. We thought we were going to meet, at the time I thought we were going to meet about in May. But it turns out we're meeting now. And that we were, basically the motion was that by the August meeting, when we meet for the half-year review of the numbers, is when we would be able to hopefully see some response from some of these requests for the proposals and make a decision at that time if we're going to consider any of these requests or if we are going to, well, I guess, there's a lot of things we can do in the future, but we could maybe extend it a little longer, for another month, or we could say that, apparently we have not been able to find anyone interested in investing, so therefore it's probably incumbent upon the county just to go with the 10,000 square feet that I think that I think that what the purpose of this vote will say is that we only need 10,000 square feet. We don't need any more for the county's purposes at this time.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion that says?
So in turn, I'm sorry, I thought I was doing that when I said we made that motion.
No.
Okay.
Just a minute. Let's have a motion on the floor, and
Okay.
then we can have discussion.
So the motion that we did, and
Never mind the motion you did.
Well,
This is the motion.
all right, I'm trying to put forth the motion as it was passed by the subcommittee, and that's why I'm saying it that way, was that we demolish the 4 wings, that we set a budget of $1 million for the renovation of the core using the Bonnet Page and Stone's example on the letter dated March 14th, 2012 of selecting options 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12.
Second the motion.
Now we're open for discussion, and go ahead, Glenn.
Just if it would be helpful, with the assistance of Director Chandler, we took some pictures over at the Old Nursing Home on Friday, and we could project those as we're talking to see, for anyone who's not familiar, what we're talking about, if that would be helpful.
That will be fine.
Cut these lights. We've never had an AV. Probably may not now.
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair, before we start, I'd just like to get clarification on something. I was on the committee, and I agree with everything we said. It's time to do something with this.
But when you were just talking, Representative Ogren, you mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 4 calls for the demolition of the front portion, I believe. Don't have a problem with that, but later in your discussion, it seemed to me you want to wait until August to see if the commissioners come up with an RFP for somebody coming in there, which seems to contradict 4. Are we just voting for it and then not doing anything until August, or what was the intent? I was on a committee and I'm a little bit confused over that point, but I do agree with what you said on that.
Mark?
If I could, my understanding is that there's 3,000 square feet dedicated in the back of the building that can be adapted and used for some use. And that's where we had, where I envisioned that anybody coming in a leasehold would move into, and that the front was not necessary. It won't fall into our budget unless we remove it.
All right. Do you want to,
Maybe
Howie, do you want to
Chairman can
walk
go
us through these quickly?
This first picture is of the foyer, which my understanding is under the motion would be removed, the entranceway.
Would it be removed just to this brick wall? Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding, at which point there'd be a frost, as proposed by Bonnet Page and Stone, a frost wall would be installed to guarantee the structural integrity of the core.
I didn't object, that's not
Okay,
true.
go ahead.
Actually, that's not where that is not where where it would be. Essentially, it would be about right here.
Where the first hall is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
'Cause that's just that little greenhouse area. There's no way that's there's no way that's 5,000 square feet. It's
Yes.
basically the front third of that entire core, because the core is about 15,000 square feet.
Yes, Representative Tyson.
Thank you. As we go through the slides, may I request that we have a quick explanation as to why the decisions have been made, or the recommendations have been made? For example, why are we getting rid of the front of the building?
We had, this first letter was precipitated by a previous subcommittee from 2012. They met essentially last year. And it was determined that by the will of that delegation was that they asked the subcommittee to show us, bring to us what could be done with the annex for a budget of $1 million. So that's basically how this was precipitated, and that was based on what we believed was the proper amount of money to invest in that area, in that annex. That the delegation wasn't really willing to spend more money, and that was through a couple iterations of. I think we received a budget, one for about $1.8 million. And so we set a budget. We want to see what we can do for $1 million, and then this was returned as the option of what could be done with a budget of $1 million. And that was essentially based on the fact that it was the belief of that subcommittee that 10,000 square feet was suited all of the county's needs at the present and in the foreseeable future, because it allowed the room for the pellet boiler, it allowed area for a laundry, it allowed area for the mechanics that were there, and then on top of that, it still allowed 3,000 square feet of renovatable office space, and then basically the entire kitchen area, which I believe is another 3,000 to 4,000 square feet for renovation for perhaps a maintenance area or something else. So it was determined that 10,000 square feet was enough area for the county's needs in the near or foreseeable future.
Okay, Ally, you want to, did you have another question?
Well, just as a follow-up, so we basically said this is about how much we want to spend, or how much we're willing to spend, and this is about how much we kind of need right now, and we're basically willing to sacrifice other usable space just so we don't have to maintain it.
That's probably,
Okay.
Well, was that a question directed toward me?
No, it's,
Just trying to understand
yeah,
it.
no, I
right?
understand.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Howie.
This slide is of looking at the old kitchen. This would be part of the core of the building that would be preserved and protected. And the old dining room, again, part of the core that would be renovated and taken care of. Looking down the corridor from the kitchen towards the entranceway.
And on this slide, this portion where we're standing for the picture, that part would be demolished, as would the far wing on the opposite side where the doors are closed. That section would also be demolished.
Yeah, the building mirrors itself on the core, so you have two wings off to each side.
Right. So both those sections would be part of the corridors that are demolished.
As proposed.
As proposed.
Go ahead.
This is the wonderful high-tech wood pellet boiler system. This is in the core building and would be preserved. Across the hall is also another mechanical room that'd be part of the core and preserved as well.
One thing I discussed with the director was, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this old boiler serves as a backup unit.
Exactly. That's propane fired on one side of the hallway and wood fired on the other. Now we're looking at the laundry, which under the proposal would see some improvements, but would also be as part of the core and would be preserved.
And part of our discussion also, I think, was that right now, some of the laundry is done here still, but much of the laundry is outsourced to a service bureau that does that laundry.
Correct.
And one of your ideas was to possibly bring that back in-house.
If we could prove that financially we'd save money by doing it in-house rather than contracting out, it might make sense to take it back the way it used to be.
If I could ask Representative Baldwin, there's, I think, $100,000 for laundry in the proposal. That would basically to renovate this area. Would that encompass bringing in any additional equipment that would be required to possibly do the additional laundry if we wanted to bring that in-house?
I don't think so.
My recollections are that was not to, oh, so sorry. That is not the case. That is just to rearrange the current one and to keep the limited amount of laundry for the personal, basically it's the personal items, so they stay within house. I don't believe that's the idea.
So any additional cost to, Director, do you know the cost of the outsourced laundry service currently?
Approximately $4,000 a month. So it's an expensive proposition. It's not a bad arrangement, but there is the potential for savings, depending on the capital cost.
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful, I think, to people that were not familiar with the nursing home. And
Thank you.
I had hoped that everybody would have had an opportunity to go and look at it at some time when they were down here. But I do appreciate that, Mr. Chandler, and yeah, Representative Cordelli for doing that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I apologize that during one of the iterations with this pack, it was a floor plan that would show you specifically, but it's not contained within what I had. I did request to get that proposal through the office here, but unfortunately that part hasn't been made available. I would like to, however, to respond to the statement that we are just basically getting rid of a space that's usable and we're discarding it. And that is essentially why we are encouraging the commissioners to put forth RFPs to try to find the viable use, because if it is viable, then someone therefore would be willing to invest in it. We've been here for 3.5, 4 years, knowing that this was coming, and we've seen nothing there. So if there is use, then someone should be willing to help invest, or at the very least be able to put forth exactly what this use is. And we haven't seen it, so we're trying to encourage them to do that. Okay?
And Representative Algren also sent a copy of a RFP to the commissioners that could be used as a model for going out to get perhaps some people that are willing to do this. So, okay, just a minute. Okay, please. Dorothy Solomon had asked to speak, and I know that she's more than welcome to. Thank you.
First, I did propose something about a little over a year ago, but there are a great change here in the delegation, and I think it only behooves me to come again and explain what I proposed. For a short history, sometime over a year ago, I was driving up the road in Conway, and there was a man standing on the corner holding a sign that said, "Homeless Vet." And I began to think about what that meant and what he was doing there, and what we, as a community, as a county, as a state, owe these people. For whatever the reason that he was homeless, that was not the issue. The fact that he was homeless was the issue. And I then got in touch, after discussing it at that point in time with the commissioners, I got in touch with the commander of American Legion Post 46 in Conway, and he was delighted to hear what I was proposing, and that was the use of 2 of the wings of the nursing home, the annex, for the purpose of housing homeless veterans. He in fact had a builder, construction man, come with him. They looked at the 2 wings. The builder came up with a number, but he also came up with something else. It appears that his family, his son and daughter-in-law and their 4 children, were living in a rental house, and the rental house burnt down. And since they had no insurance on the house, since it wasn't theirs, and not enough to go and buy a house of their own or another place, they found themselves homeless. His home, the gentleman's home, was too small to accommodate the family. So for whatever reason, we have homeless here. You may not see them, but they are here. So this expanded from a homeless shelter for veterans to a general homeless shelter also for community people. In Carroll County, we have no homeless shelters. We have to send out anyone, or find some other means. Towns have to find some other means of sheltering these people. So, getting back to the use of these 2 wings, the 2 wings on the other side from the boiler system. The proposal we would make would be to take care of all the renovations. We would like a very minor lease, given that we're doing all the work. We will pay the county for the use of maintenance, heat, electricity, water, use of the kitchen if it's still available, use of the laundry room. We will pay. All we ask the county for is the buildings, the wings. This would save the county, if my memory proves correct, something in the neighborhood of $200,000, because you would not be demolishing it, and it wouldn't cost you anything. All we ask is for your ability to tell us that those wings will be possible, we can use them, so that we can go out and seek possible grants and monies from the state and from the federal government to make our project work. And I can only do that and start it when you tell us that we have a possibility of using it.
May I ask a question to Ms. Solomon? Your idea is very commendable, and I remember when you brought this up the first time, I started thinking about it, and I asked some questions, and a couple things bothered me. First, I believe the person from the Legion in Conway was going to bring in a proposal and talk to us and then change his mind for whatever reason.
No, he came.
I don't believe he came in.
Yes, he did.
Did he come in?
Yes, he did.
I don't think he did.
He came originally. I don't think he came back.
He didn't come back for that
again.
one that
Oh,
we
that's
asked him to
right.
come
Okay.
back with.
Yes, he was ill.
We have very sketchy details. If we accept, and I assume when you say we will pay for it, I assume you mean by grants or, if you do that, I believe you're opening it up to the whole state, not just to Carroll County, if you take a government grant. I'm not sure of that, but I think that's going to happen. That would be a problem. I also went back and checked, from my standpoint, with our police department, who I felt probably should know as much as anybody, whether we had anybody sleeping under bridges and so forth, and they said we did not. So I'm not, I just don't think there's been enough details worked out. The people come here who are homeless, where are they going? Some of them are going to want to work. Where are they going to work? How is the transportation going to be provided? I have seen absolutely no details, and I mean really fine details on this. And if I were going to support it, I could not without seeing it.
May I answer a couple of those
Wait,
things?
may I say something? Excuse me. So that we don't get bogged down in this particular proposal. I believe that Representative Algren said, if you have, that we are going to put out an RFP for use of the nursing home, and if someone is interested, we're not going to start demolishing the wings tomorrow, okay? And so if someone is interested in that, then they should respond to the RFP, and the commissioners will go forward with that and make we'll make a decision. I don't know that we have to make that decision. I think that's a ultimately. So, I don't think we need to get into the nuts and bolts of what this is, but I do think that if anyone is interested in the space over there, that they should respond to the RFP with the details that are necessary. I think that what Ms. Solomon is asking is that we expand the RFP to include the wings. And I have no problem with that. And so, we're looking at the 10,000 square feet. What was it, 5?
10,000 square feet
Okay.
is what we
If
deem
for-
necessary,
Right.
and the 15,000 square feet is the entire size of the court.
So there are 5,000 square feet for office things. And then if the proposal comes back, it's acceptable for the wings, then I don't think anyone here would be opposed to that at all. Yes?
Since we're talking, when we originally started this, you made a motion, we're talking about the demolition and going forward with that, and making a decision. But it seems like there's so many other things for example, getting the RFPs out, different kinds of proposals that are coming forth for wings, that I think a good idea might be setting timelines, saying, this is when RFPs are gonna go out, this is when they're gonna be accepted, this is when the delegation's gonna come back together to review them with the commissioners from whatever they get and their recommendations, and then make a vote on what exactly we're demolishing and what we're gonna do with the building. Because it seems almost if we vote now on what to demolish, we're putting the cart before the horse, because we don't know what kinds of RFPs are gonna be coming in and what we're looking at.
Well, that's one approach, and unfortunately, that's the approach that we have taken for the last 3 years, and we have not made any progress. And so I personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else but me, I personally would rather see us at a point that says, this is what we're going to do. Yes, I agree that the proposals, the RFPs, answers need to come in, and we'll judge each one based on its merits. That's a good word. Yes, Ms. Solomon.
I was just wondering if I might answer some of the points that were made regarding homeless people. Number one, homeless people are invisible, and that's to the police as well, particularly to the police. But homelessness doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the streets all the time. It could also mean that you are living in somebody's house, what they call couch swapping, surfing. And it would also be a better place perhaps to ask would be in the schools, because I believe that the school teachers and the administration there know far more about homeless than you would expect. With regard to what is available to help these people here in this area, the very possibilities are, the possibilities are very good here. Number one, I see that one of the major things that leads to homelessness is either drugs or alcohol addiction. And one of the things that we could offer here is help there, in as much as we do the same thing for those who are in our jails. So we can use the facilities.
Yeah. Dorothy, we don't need to go on and on about this, okay? What you're asking for, I think, is allow the RFP process for use to apply to 2 of the wings. And I think that that's something that we can do. All of the reasons and all that other stuff, when the RFP comes out, then that's when all of that needs to come together. So, and we'll make that motion when we finish up with this.
How long do you think we should wait for the RFPs to come back?
President Crawford, did you?
The question I had basically was, this proposal was March 14th, 2012, and that's a year, we've gone a year since then. Are the numbers solid, or will the contingency pick up some of the differences in some of those prices?
Well, certainly this pricing is a year old, so there may be some fluctuation in market value, but commodity costs for construction materials have not materially increased. I think the contingencies would cover it. I think we're in this ballpark, and it's not, the process is not that we said this, so that will be the final plan. They will have to make a solid construction plan, and there may be some interior designs that would go forward from here, okay? And similar to the nursing home. We approved a concept. We did not approve the final exact plan. That went through some iterations that we finally made a final approval for. Do you see what I mean? So there's kind of steps, and this is the first step. This is the concept, the footprint, the basic uses that were outlined in that Unfortunately, we don't have that plan, but that's kind of how the process works.
Do you have a follow-up?
Just, thank you. So, my question, I guess, is $1 million, is it whatever Bonnet Page and Stone can do with $1 million, some of these might change. Something might change. That would be,
Yes, they could propose changes, and then
but
delegation
$1
could
million is the
approve.
bottom line.
Commissioner Babson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I cannot sit here and have the delegation think that we haven't done anything. We had, the last subcommittee meeting was in April. At that point, I got a hold of Representative Elgren and confirmed that the motion was to take down the 3,000, either get somebody that wanted to renovate the front 3,000 square feet or tear it down. On May 1st, I sent a proposal to Representative Algren that the commissioners had come up with, and requesting his input, whether it was all right or whether we could go ahead with it. 3 requests later, we got an answer Thursday afternoon, which is 2 days before this, and I'm sorry, we haven't had time to work on it over the weekend.
And I understand that. I was...
And I don't want to take the blame for not having gotten it out.
I don't think, we're not blaming anybody.
I think Representative Algren said that we hadn't done anything in his first speech.
Well,
If I might respond to that.
no, we don't need
didn't
to,
say that.
okay? Representative Butler.
Thank you.
We don't need to.
Is
It's
it
not worth it.
determined that we will use Bonnet Page and Stone to do whatever is as a GC, or is this just, they were used just for the estimating purposes?
The commissioners are the ones that hire whoever is going to do this. And,
It's a year old.
right, the whole thing is about...
He's working on the figures that he did. He check with the same guy to see if he was going to hold it.
This is just a concept. Yes.
In terms of the RFPs to go out, that would apply to nonprofits as well as profit-making corporations. For instance, I've heard for several years about the interest of cooperative extension, but I'm not sure if what I've heard is real interest or just, talk. So it would be expected that they would likewise file a response to the RFP. If the county wanted to take a look at bringing back the outsourced laundry services, would you see them also writing a proposal for doing that for discussion purposes? If that, because the additional cost of equipment over and above the 100,000 that are in this, could possibly, I would think, coming from the same
I
source of money.
believe that would be part of the budget process.
Okay.
If the nursing home can provide information to us that says they have a payback in 3 or 5 years by this investment, then through the budget process, we would make that decision. Thank you.
And just to respond to your speaking, what you were saying there, was that I believe that the spirit of the motion was that the cooperative extension is part of that possible 10,000 square feet we've already designated as necessary or of county use. Okay, we're not looking for them, it's not a consideration for them to put forth an RFP to consume part of a wing, for instance, or to consume an additional space. Okay, what we're trying to say is that there is a consideration for cooperative extension, that it's possible that they could be within that 10,000 square feet, but that's just not part of this motion. But we're not, what I think Representative McConkey during the course of the subcommittee, and I won't necessarily speak for him, was trying to let people know that we're not looking for cooperative extension to come and say, you know, you give us $32,000 a year for rent, so therefore there's a cost-benefit analysis to put us in that additional 5,000 square feet. You know, our cost-benefit analysis incorporated our motion is that would be within that 10,000 square feet that we deem necessary for the county. Does that seem to be the spirit of what, because I reviewed the meeting that we had yesterday to try to be in spirit of what we tried to put forth on that day.
Yes.
Just follow up, wouldn't we want something in writing, though, from Cooperative Extension saying they were interested in that before we, you know, allocate, so to speak, or designate some of that 10,000 square feet, possibly? And two, could you just review the square footage numbers? It's 10,000 square feet that would be renovated as part of the motion. No. Could you just repeat those square footage numbers possibly?
Sure. There's basically within the motion that we put together was that the core was to be, the four wings were to be demolished, the core was to be preserved with a $1 million budget that was based upon the options that were set forth by Bonnet Page and Stone.
Right.
Okay, so that, in a nutshell, is our motion that we believe is the recommendation to the delegation. Now, essentially, the thought process was in April, when we did this in April, that we would meet to actually have a final vote on this in August, and that during that time, requests for proposals would be initiated by the commissioners to seek out folks who might be able to fill in any of these other needs that we hear of. That was their charge to seek out the proposals, not my charge. The subcommittee did not ask me to approve a request for a proposal. We gave them a charge at the meeting. You guys, the commissioners and your executive authority, are encouraged by the subcommittee to seek out requests for proposals. I gave them some examples of being in the spirit of the motion. I felt like if they could find someone who wanted to consume 5,000 square feet within that 10,000 square foot core, if that's what they found, and so then therefore they could keep the front.
We don't, we're, okay.
Then that may be within.
Let's understand, okay? There is, the only improvements are going to be to the laundry area, 8, 9, 10.
Right.
Okay? Otherwise, it's just a building. Nothing else is going to be done. Okay, so.
8 is 10,000 square feet, I think, correct?
But that's re-roofing the building.
Right.
Okay. But 9, 10, 9 and 10, and then the roof.
Okay.
But as far as anything else is concerned, we are not putting any money into improvements in the building.
Right. And,
Okay.
and per the motion, we're actually removing the rest, demolishing the rest.
That's correct.
And the approximate square footage of the space to be demolished is,
It's the 5,000 square feet of the front of the current annex.
right.
And the two wings, which are approximately 10,000 square feet apiece. Like each quarter is about 5,000 square feet. Does that sound correct? Yeah, so it's about 20,000 square feet and down each quarter. Total. Okay, so you have
Total,
5,000
right.
in the front,
Right, and then 10.
5,000, 10 for each wing.
Right.
So that's 20 plus 5.
Okay.
That's the
Right.
total demolished, if that's helpful.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Sorensen?
I have four real quick things. One, 2 weeks ago, VA estimated was 460 homeless people in the state. Didn't know by county. If we're going to look at the two wings that you're suggesting, then the motion should be changed, or
whatever?
We'll take care of that
Okay,
with a separate motion.
okay.
Or an
Okay?
amendment to this motion.
Well, I think that what we're trying to do here is set the parameters.
Mhm.
Then our second motion will be these parameters, if we have things coming in, we'll
Okay.
be able to change.
Okay. Also, Representative Algren knows of a organization that would rent space from the old nursing home, which we probably can't divulge right now because of where they're located. But there is a organization that's willing to rent.
Oh, yes, I'm
For,
sorry.
thank you, Madam Chairman, for Representative Cordelli. In the space that's being preserved, a new roof coming in that space in the back of the building, which is presently now the kitchen and used to be the day room for the nursing home, the old nursing home, there's approximately 3,000 square feet in there that nobody has determined what that use is for. So our discussions in the subcommittee was that here is 3,000 square feet. There's someone apparently looking at 400 square feet or whatever. That was where we were directing the commissioners, if they wanted to get RFPs for use of that space, which also included renovating that space. That's where we were directing them. So they're in this 10,000 square foot building that we're coming down to in size, almost a third of it has a potential for some other use, that the commissioners from that meeting on were supposed to be looking for tenants or to retain as open space for the maintenance department or whatever use.
Yes, Reverend.
Well, that answered half of my question, because I wanted clarification on what exactly we're looking for in terms of the RFPs, where that space was. So you're saying it was within that core that the request is for. So I'm wondering if we could expand that to say the RFPs, to see if anyone's interested in the wings also, just to clarify that we're looking at everything.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Any other comments, questions? You want to go first? Do you want Susan to go first?
Oh, Susan?
Representative Tysers?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. One is, it seems to me that the commissioners are working on this and have more work that they'd like to do. The public is working on this and has more work that they'd like to do. And the committee is working on this and had another timeline for when they wanted to complete their work and present it to us. So I'm thinking that it might be appropriate to make a motion to table this motion.
Okay?
Motion to table is non-debatable.
Yeah. Okay?
You can't.
No. No. Okay, Representative Ticehurst thinks we ought to table this. How many people are in favor of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion's not tabled. Okay.
In that case,
Mark?
excuse me.
If I could, may I ask the commissioners, since our subcommittee meeting a month back or more, and you've received some interest in 400 or 600 square feet, have RFPs gone out, and how many people do you have in the wings for even the 3,000 square feet? Do you have an RFP out for any of that space?
I don't think that's a fair question.
Well, I'm not asking for any details, I'm asking if they put out RFPs.
I have not.
We have written an RFP, and we sent it to the chairman of your subcommittee to make sure, because it was a confusing meeting as to what we're putting out for an RFP, whether it's the back portion, whether it's the front portion, and we wanted clarification on that and didn't get it.
And I think that hopefully at this point, the clarification has been provided. I recognize it wasn't provided till Thursday, and that's okay. Because there was obviously a little bit of miscommunication, and that's okay, it happens. So, I don't wanna get into what might be out there at this point. That's the job of the commissioners to go and find out if in fact there's anything out there. And that's the extent of where we need to be on that.
Could I finish my question? May I just suggest that the confusion was one-sided?
Oh, please, Mark.
Thank you.
Representative Babson.
Well, okay,
I'm
if you'd
sorry,
like me to be today, I will.
Commissioner Babson.
Would you like me to read what we proposed?
No. No, it doesn't matter. We don't have a motion out there yet to go and do that. Our motion is only to do this.
To accept
So-
the report.
To accept that. So, Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. God, this reminds me of deja vu all over again.
That's why I'm trying to focus it.
Yeah, well, it's been so many years now, it's just crazy, and it appears to me that, just hearing the discussion around the table, that we're right back to square one, where we're gonna leave the wings there. At a minimum, I would hope we could come out of here today, at least with a date certain of when these RFPs will be done, so we can make a decision. And in the absence of that, then I'm gonna change my vote entirely and flip-flop and say, leave the building there, and 20 years, when the roof caves in, someone else can worry about it. But seriously, I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, I think that as long as we are talking about the motion, you may be recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to amend the motion, which is, well, we can vote on the amendment. If we want to amend the motion, then we will vote it up. If we don't want to amend it, we will vote it down.
Okay, what's your amendment?
My amendment to the motion is that this plan will be, in addition to the motion, will be that we will go forward on this plan at a time certain, being September 15th. And in the meantime, that we will engage in the possibilities of the RFPs that the commissioners seek out. And I didn't mention anything about the wings. We can have that on a separate amendment. This is only about, my amendment to the motion is that this will be put into action on September 15th. That's the deadline.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, so the motion now reads, if I may, we will, is moving that we, from the Bonnet Page and Stone, March 14th meeting, March 14th letter, that we will select 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12 for the nursing home, not to exceed $1 million. In addition to that, he is directing the commissioners to send out an RFP dealing with the space available within the core, with action on that to be completed for the delegation, not later than 15 September 2013.
Is it in order to give an amendment to his motion, or to make a suggested change to his motion? Or should I just shut up?
Steve, you may do what you wish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In fairness to the commissioners and anyone else, it just seems to me that today's date is June 17th, September 15th, it's too fast. I would like to amend your motion to give the commissioners a date certain of 6 months, so they might have an ability to identify all of the issues, and then have a date certain that I think is fair to them on a timeline. Anyone else who has some ideas here, i.e. the suggestion.
So your change is to go from September 15th to December 15th.
Sounds Yes, give them some more time.
That gives them 6 months. Okay, so our vote today is to follow this plan, give them 6 months for their RFPs, provide that back to us by December 15th. Wiggle room. That's getting close to Christmas. Okay, maybe that's appropriate. Okay, so now we have an amendment to the date.
If I could ask the good representative a question. Having lived through this process for a number of years, and knowing that if you extend anything out 6 months, then in 6 months, if I follow the way history has been to this point, at the end of 6 months, there's going to be a question on something, and more time again is going to be needed. I think the world moves fast enough that if we took that from 6 months to 3 months, a quarter of the year, I think that would be more than enough. And then if issues raised, or they have had a sufficient number of inquiries that have more questions, then we would be in a timeline then that we could probably get that done at the end of 6 months. So I would like to amend your motion, if I could, sir.
This is an amendment to the amendment.
Amendment to the amendment to extend that for a period of 3 months as opposed to 6 months.
So that would be...
Point of order, Madam Chair, if I may.
In a moment.
Okay.
So that would change it to October 15th? Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's September.
September.
Oh, this is July, oh, yeah. So we're back to where we
I
were.
like September.
So we don't need an amendment. Okay,
So here, let's just vote this up or down.
all right,
and
so...
after we vote his
we
amendment,
have-
then we
just a
still have to
moment.
vote my amendment, and then
Just a moment,
we'll go
please.
from there.
I know. Susan, Representative Ticehurst has a point of order.
Don't we usually vote on one amendment up or down before we vote on the next amendment? And would that help to clarify?
Normally it's 2 amendments.
Doesn't, well, let's just, we've got an amendment right now for December 15th, to change the date to December 15th. Tom, do you have discussion?
Well, if we're not in
Representative Lavender?
if we're not in convention, why can't we do what we're doing?
We can.
Rather than voting on, I mean, just,
Well,
because in convention, we'll make a new motion.
in convention, we will ratify the motion that we make now. Okay. Yes.
I would just like to support the September 15th date. I think that it is reasonable time.
Okay. So our amendment is to have the commissioners do an RFP, report back to us on the 15th of September with where they stand. And if they have questions before that time, then they should contact the chairman. Oh, me. Oh. They should contact the chairman so that we can iron out any problems. Okay?
Can I move the question?
Well, in a moment. We need to make sure that everyone understands where we are. Okay, and we're only talking about the RFPs and the date of 15 September. That's the amendment that we're looking at. Cindy?
May I ask a question of the commissioners regarding the date?
It doesn't matter. They'll do what we tell them.
I know, but I know that, but I'd like their opinion on something.
I guess we have no choice.
Well, I guess not. I'm going to ask the question. My question to the commissioners are, given this date of September 15th, do you think that is that a time reasonable for you to get this done?
I think if Representative McConkey holds to what he said, that if we have an interest, September 15th, that all the details are not there, but there's an interest, then we'd hold it over until December 15th, I guess. My question, though, would be, we're going to be putting out 3 RFPs. One for the front of the building, one for the back of the building, and one for the two wings. Okay? That's my understanding, so that was straight.
Well, let me suggest that I don't think you need 3 RFPs. You need
Well,
one.
they're all different.
Well, you do what you want.
Okay.
That's your, I mean, you make the decision how you want to send out the RFPs. That's not our, okay. That's not our decision, sorry. Okay, everyone understands what the motion is? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, which is to send out the RFPs for lease of space within the core and the, just the core, okay?
As stated in the Bonnet Page and Stone.
No, we're just the core, okay?
For September 15th.
Right, for September 15th. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
500 years.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? 1, 2. Okay, that motion passes. Okay, so we have the amendment has been passed. Yes, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that a proposal be put out with, or an RFP put out for uses of the wings rather than demolition, and that those proposals will be considered if, and those proposals will be considered.
Okay, so you're amending,
No, this is a new motion.
okay, but we haven't voted on the entire motion
Sorry.
yet. Okay. We've only voted on the amendment.
Good.
So,
Madam Chair.
yes,
Thank you,
Representative
Madam
Wright.
Chairman. I understand your frustration. This has been a long time for some people, but I'm a little bit confused.
Oh, jeez. Don't let that bother you.
If we vote on this, are we excluding the possibility of renovation of these wings?
No, not, well, yes,
Because-
at this point.
At
But-
this point?
But if you didn't hear Representative Butler's motion,
That's what I got. That's why I asked, because I wanted to make sure that.
then we will
Okay.
follow up with his motion.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay? Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So following up on that question then, the intent of the main motion would be to issue an RFP for the renovation of the core.
There's no core renovation. The main motion is 2, 3,
Right.
4, 8, 10, and 12.
9, 10, 12.
There is no renovation in here.
Well, I'm sorry, not renovation, but the re-roofing, et cetera.
That's correct.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
all right.
But the intent would be to then proceed with an RFP to begin work as specified in the motion.
The planning work. But we can't make any, they shouldn't make any decision to go forward any further than getting the plan there until such time as they hear back from the RFP. Okay? All right. Are we ready for the motion as amended, which is 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12, not to exceed $1 million, with RFPs for the core, possible leasing, due by the 15th of September. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Opposed? 1. Okay. So that's enough, that's 2/3. Okay, now I will recognize Representative Butler for a motion.
Thank you. I move that use of the wings rather than demolition are to be considered if successful proposals are made by September 15th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in, what's with you?
I hate to ask a question.
Certainly.
For that motion, should it say, because it's not supposed to be any cost to the county, should that be in there at all?
Probably.
That's wise.
So that people don't assume
Yeah.
anything?
Mhm.
So if I could amend that motion.
No, we're just going to withdraw it.
Okay.
Let's try again and add it.
Right.
I don't need an amendment.
Use of the wings rather than demolition will be considered if successful proposals are made by September 15th and are no cost to the county. Are at no cost to the county.
Okay, everyone?
I have a question. You mean all the four wings, eh? Are you talking about the four wings?
Yes. Any portion of? Or all four wings, yes, the 20,000 square feet.
Okay? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The entire 20,000 square feet or
I
any
think
portion thereof?
Wings means.
Any portion thereof?
Any successful proposal.
First was 2, now it's 4.
Representative White.
I have questions on the structural integrity of the wings. So say we get an RFP for someone to move in there, and they do renovations to the inside to make it so it could be an office or whatever they want, homeless shelter. But say the roof starts to collapse. Are they responsible for the roof, or because we own the property, do we structurally have to replace the roof on the wings?
My understanding is that successful proposal will mean that the structural integrity will be considered within the proposal. It will not be our responsibility.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It looks like it's unanimous.
Did you want one of those?
No, no. Okay. I would like to go into convention and get this done once and for all.
Move to go into convention.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first thing we have are the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And that's for all of the minutes, right?
Yes. Motion number 2 is to approve from the March 14th Bonnet Page and Stone letter, number 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12, and to direct the commissioners to put out an RFP for leasing of the core, and with reporting back to the delegation by 15th September. Okay?
Not to exceed $1 million.
Not to exceed $1 million. Thank you, Tom. Okay? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, and our third motion is for the commissioners to put out a RFP for the use of the wings at no cost to the county.
And to be received by September 15th.
Right, yes, and to be received by September 15th.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to come out of convention?
Motion to come out of convention.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is making me very nervous. This has only been 4 years. that we've-
So we're still going on.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to get too crazy on this. Okay, thank you all. And we will be revisiting this area sometime in September. for our next delegation meeting. Okay, all right. The next item on our agenda is the performance audit. And Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The committee, subcommittee has met on one occasion, scheduled to meet again later after this meeting if time permits. Not much to report at this point. We should hoping to have a lively discussion and more to talk about for our September meeting.
When do you expect to have the RFP ready to go?
I could give you a better indication after today's meeting.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you on that.
Do you have a target date?
The September meeting, September 15th.
Okay, that's a good target. We'll relive this meeting again in September. Yes.
I can mention two things, Madam Chair. First, I've been doing some background work in terms of the audit as agreed upon at our subcommittee meeting, and have sent out letters to each delegation chairman requesting information from them about whether or not they have a county administrator position, and some details regarding that. And I have gotten 3 or 4 responses to date, and hoping for more. And second, we did have discussion at the subcommittee about inclusion of looking at financial controls as part of the performance audit. And there was the suggestion that it would be more appropriate for that to be done in our annual financial audit. So I went back and, with the assistance of Ms. Gary, got the audits for the past several years. And it turns out they are not true financial audits. They are basically, we're paying this contractor to do financial statements. There is no report attached. I've got several copies if you want to. I don't have enough for everybody, but that's the agreement that we signed with the contractor for the accounting services. And it's not a true financial audit. General government accounting standards really require for an audit at least 4 things. An auditor's report as to whether the financial statements are in accordance with general accounting principles, identify circumstances where the principles are not consistently observed, and several more. And none of that is present with the work done for the county currently. There is no report, just financial statements are done, which was very disturbing to me.
That's extremely disturbing.
Could I just ask who does the audit? Is it a CPA firm or an individual?
It's a gentleman by the name of John Lyford. I have, you'll see the agreement wasn't even on letterhead for this current year. And it's evidently a year-to-year basis. And I think when we first asked about this back during the budget season, the response was that he had been doing it for the past 6 or 7 years at least. And I have copies, or at least the work that is returned by him. And in one case it is 2011, I think, it is signed off on by one of the commissioners, but you can see it's just financial statements.
So, well, that's yeah.
I sign up. Can I have a question?
Explain a little bit of that?
Kathy, you can explain.
John Lyford was part of Mason and Rich, Mason and Rich did the audit. And with the GASB regulations that have come into place in the last 2 years, whoever prepares the financials, who has been John Lightford, then he in turn gets audited by another firm. So it's another level. And we are in the, John is going to be here next week and the first week of July, finishing up the financials and the RFP for the other auditor that has to review his financials. So it has to go out, another auditor has to review his paperwork by GASB. And prior to that, an auditing firm, Mason and Rich, would do our audit, and then they have their internal that would audit the work, and they were able to do that. But my understanding now with GASB, whoever prepares the financials for us, who is an accountant, who is John Lightford, has to be audited by an outside agency.
And who then does the requirements of GASB?
The auditing, the person that will in turn audit his work.
Okay, but how does...
They'll do the testing, they'll do the...
So how does he know whether or not we are following appropriate procedures? Does he ever come here?
Yes, that's what, he comes and spends time.
Not like...
No, the other people will come, and they will do all the testing, and follow up with what he did to prove what he's providing.
And do you have a report from that company?
Not yet, no, he's finishing up the financial piece of it.
Could we possibly get it for 2011?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's...
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, one question, one of the things stuck right out here in this letter is that he gives you, it says, my procedures cannot be relied upon to disclose errors, fraud, or illegal acts that may exist. Why do we have it?
Well, that's the auditor, whoever is auditing him will...
I guess my question is, why would you have two auditors? The town has one big audit.
That's the way...
Maybe I'm missing something, but...
Because he prepares the financials. His work has to be checked.
So the auditor who audits him comes in and does a whole audit all over again?
Right, he double checks everything that he's done.
Okay.
And that's my understanding with GASB in the last couple of years.
He's an accountant, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's...
So
well,
who are they?
that is... That's an issue that, that the commissioners should be well aware of and figure out what they want to do with it. And if the performance audit people think that that's something that needs to be looked into further, then they will recommend that. But we're not going to solve that here. I appreciate you bringing that up, and I personally look forward to the meeting on the 15th when we'll try to see where we're going. So.
If I could just, one last follow-up to that is, I would hope that in the future, since we're talking services for this individual in the amount of $15,000, I think, in the current budget, that we go out to an RFP for this.
That's not our call. Our call is whether or not we want to pay $15,000 for an auditor. Okay. Representative Crawford.
Yes.
Do you have anything that is less controversial?
I wish I did. Well, it might be, I don't know. I've got handouts. The subcommittee for dispatch that you charged us with to go and look at, yes, please, if you don't mind. Thank you. Has met once, and at that meeting, we left that meeting with basically a charge to the sheriff's department and the 3 towns to get together with some questions that we had asked about services and numbers and things like that. So everybody went on their merry way, and, town meeting and myself being down in Concord and a lot of things going on, it kind of went by the wayside, I believe, and by the time I really came back to see if anything had been done, I contacted Carter Terrazini from Molten Brew as the town administrator. Things just didn't happen. So I said, well, we're going to have a delegation meeting. Do you think you could get something back to me, and so that I can pass on to my committee so that we could have some discussion at our delegation meeting? So what you have in front of you is correspondence between the sheriff and Mr. Terenzini about the dispatching and the cost of dispatching and what could be done to, I don't want to say relieve Conway, Wolfboro, and Moultonboro from charges or for paying for county dispatch. But I know it's a lot of reading that you'd have to do, and probably, if you have any questions just by looking at it briefly, I think maybe our committee should meet again and hopefully have some more information for you with more detail, because by the correspondence you can see that we're not all on the same page. And I still think it's an important issue because if you look at, I've said it before, the 3 towns really pay 50% of the county budget. And if you see in one of these correspondence, it's just from the union leader of May 12th, seems like Rockingham County is having the same discussion about dispatch and price to the towns that are contributing more for their communication and not utilizing the service. So I gave you a lot of reading, and I don't know if there's questions or just on the surface, or if you, Mr. Terenzini is here, if you have any questions, and the sheriff is here also on any of this, or just upfront kind of questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Yes, Representative Cordelli.
I was just wondering if the subcommittee intended or was considering contacting Rockingham if they are having similar discussions, or how you saw that proceeding?
Well, because this just came out in
Right.
June, I would be more than happy to follow that up, because I think that's valuable information that the subcommittee could have to go forward with. And if you read the article quickly, you can see there's a lot of concern in Rockingham about the dispatch and the upgrades that they want to do to their dispatch center, and the towns like, I believe Derry, and who contribute a good portion of the county dollars are looking at a fee service. The commissioners are actually looking at a fee service for some of those other towns.
Yes, Sheriff.
Thank you. Rockingham's, the first sentence on their article in the paper says that considering charges for towns that use the county for dispatch on top of taxes they already pay. So that is a bit different than what we're trying to work out, but it is completely different.
Okay, I would agree that it's probably a very good idea to bring this back to our
September meeting?
Our September meeting, and that will give you an opportunity over the summer to hopefully meet. And one thing I would ask that you do in regards to Conway is that we do have a police commission up there, and does anybody know who the chairman of the police commissioner is? I don't know, there's...
Probably easy to find out.
Yeah, but she's not there anymore. Huh? I don't know. I don't know who was elected, I didn't see anything in the paper, but...
Larry Martin is...
Yeah, there's that. But anyhow, at least, I didn't see necessarily, as I just flipped through this briefly, I know you've been corresponding with Earl, but Earl really has no
authority,
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
I don't know.
We'll include the Wilkesboro Police Commission as well, Carol.
Yeah. That, you know, I mean, we need to make sure that we are dealing with, you know, both sides if there are in fact police commissioners, because they, I mean, I shouldn't say that the selectmen have no responsibility, they do have some, but the actual work and the decisions, I guess, are made by the police commissioner. Yes?
If I could, just according to their website, the chair of the Common Police Commission is David Jordan.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know who got elected, so must have been his turn. Okay. Did you have a question, Tom? No? All right. Okay, let me just say that I must leave at 11 o'clock because I have a appointment in Conway at 12. So I would like to do the first quarter financials, and then we can, as we are going out, take a look at the wood processor.
It's gone now.
Pardon?
It's gone now, he had to take it to another place.
Oh.
So, we just wanted to have people be able to see it coming in, but he had to go somewhere else this morning.
Okay. How about September 15th?
I have a bunch of paperwork and I had some stuff I think the commissioners want to talk about with it, but.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, so, who's going to walk us through what's going on with the budget? Let's look at the revenues.
Well,
I
went through it again this morning.
Let's look at the expenditures.
You want to look at expenditures first?
Sure.
The big item that I did pick out was under plan operations. I don't know if you want to go through it department by department, but
If there's
all the
nothing-
departments are in good shape as far as the first quarter.
Okay.
The one thing that I did pick out was under plan operations,
Okay.
maintenance labor.
What page?
It's under the nursing home section.
That's on page 13.
Page 14.
Okay.
Yes, page 14, under 083, maintenance labor, was 153% spent, because we only had $1,000 in there. But it was spent on light fixtures, to put in the controls so that when you're not using that room or that hallway, it's on a meter or a
Motion sensor?
control, not a timer, but when you enter the room, the lights go on.
Motion.
It's to save electricity, basically. So that was the major expense.
So that was an unplanned expense?
Right.
So we just decided to do it without planning to do it?
Well, we decided to do it to save money.
But we didn't decide up until March to do it, to save
Right.
money.
Right.
Okay. Anyhow, we're not supposed to spend things that we haven't been spending until the budget is approved. And if this was spent by the 31st of March, then we're not following the rules.
The nursing home expenditures.
Anyhow, not a problem. I think it's a good idea, but we just need to remember that in the first quarter, before the budget is approved, that you don't start new projects until the budget is approved. You spend what you did last year, you know, including pay raises or any of that kind of stuff, but we don't spend things that we haven't approved. Okay. Is there anything else that you see here? That probably, at this point, there's probably nothing that will cause a problem unless you know of something, someplace that is looking like you got some problems during the second quarter.
You'll see the unemployment, that's up a little bit, but that's paid off in the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Beginning of our budget.
Okay. All right, so the budget side, the expense side is going well. Okay. And I am personally not particularly worried about a $500 overspend in the nursing home. I think you probably have enough to work that out.
Cover it, yeah.
Okay, but, so. Okay.
On the revenue side, county miscellaneous income,
Page 1.
page 1, it would be under 024. We got a reimbursement from Public Service in New Hampshire, electricity. It was a reimbursement to us, so that shows an increase in that category.
Great. Okay. And then what's the sheriff up to?
Dispatch income, I'd have to rely on Dominic to talk about income in the in dispatch. I'm sorry, it's under other income. I didn't catch that one when I went through it.
Dominic, you're making
It's under
money?
other income. We budgeted for $500, and we've taken in
13.
Okay, well, keep it
more
up.
than what we budgeted for, which is a good idea.
Yeah. And how's the revenue doing, Howie, at the nursing home?
Well, we got good news just last Friday that the state pro share money has gone up. It's one of those things that we don't control, but which we benefit and depend on. And it looks as though we'll be finding out, actually, I think we're supposed to get the complete notification, get the check actually, or the notification of transfer tomorrow, and we're expecting about a 7% increase over last year in state revenues. Our Medicare census is running higher than last year, so we're actually revenue-wise looking very good.
Okay, so that was for that was actually for last year, right, for 2000, the FY12 for the state.
On the state, although the revenue, the cash actually gets received in June and then perhaps again in September.
Okay, okay. All right. Ann, you have you provided us with a revenue picture for the Registry of Deeds. How are we doing?
I have better for you for the end of May. Yep. April and May were significantly better. Mark, on the other side of your, you got the figures. I didn't print those out for everybody. But basically, you can't really predict anything in our office. But last month, our income to the county was $76,000, which is significantly higher than other months. So if that's an omen for the upcoming summer months, it would certainly look good in that we will meet what we projected. Maybe exceed it, but I'm still trying to be optimistic.
Exceed is good.
I try, but I have no control.
Only because it means that the economy is moving, home sales are doing well.
Well, document count, the numbers of documents we've taken in, we're only a difference of 48 more documents than last year, and we're talking in terms of 6,000 some odd total, 6,520. So money doesn't always represent document count. What represents document count and is our biggest, one of our biggest sources is our 4% that we get on real estate transfer tax. And we have big sales, we have more income. That's how.
So we should encourage everyone to go out and buy multi-million-dollar homes.
Well, I'm
Two
just pleased that it is at the point that it's at, with the projected figure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just add something? Because I really think, the commissioners have heard, but my entire staff is part of the Relay for Life for Cancer that stays locally. And I also am blessed with an employee who's the captain of this team. And we have 20-something members countywide that have stepped forward and really worked very hard, and they're up to 6,500 and hoping to reach 7 by next week. This weekend is the relay.
Great. Great effort. Thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the delegation?
The wood process.
That's the word. Yes.
I'd like to bring the issue up that we had talked about several months ago regarding a wood processor. Things have changed, and one of the major changes is that Merrimack County, which processes a lot of wood, roughly 8,000 onion sacks full that goes to state parks, they can no longer ship their firewood outside the county because they have a ash borer that is affecting their wood, and the state does not want that to spread around throughout the state. With that, they asked if Carroll County could pick up that 6,000 to 8,000 bags in addition to what we're doing now to supply the campground with that firewood. We have also looked at another wood processor, which some of you may have seen outside on the north side of the building, or the west side of the building. That is not the machine. The machine that we'd be looking at for $43,000 would be a larger one. It would be diesel. You could take larger wood, and we can take log length wood rather than having to cut it up into the sections that any of you that saw out there. It's a time-consuming deal where Will has to cut it up into short sections, and then it's lifted up on the conveyor. This other one can take a 18-foot log up to 29 inches in diameter. Right now, we're having problems with our old one. For example, here a couple of weeks ago, a bolt broke. You would think it'd be easy to replace a bolt. In this particular case, it was a special bolt, and it had to be ordered and held us up. This new wood processor would have its own engine, which means we don't have to use a tractor.
Okay, we understand all that.
Okay?
What
we're asking for is to take the money out of capital reserve, that $9,500, and put towards the first payment of this new machine. It would be on a lease basis for a 5-year lease, roughly $9,000 per year. That $9,000 would come off the increase in campfire wood that we would be doing as a result of the Merrimack County issue. I'd let Will explain anything further, any questions that you might have. I think, Carol, Representative from Molten Borough, you asked at one point in time if we could get any money back on the old one. The suggestion, or my understanding is that we could get $5,000 or $6,000 back on it. It's unique because it has to have a tractor for it to function. But the feeling is that we could get that much back.
Is that as a trade-in?
Excuse me?
Is that a trade-in, or somebody would just buy it for $5,000?
Yes, somebody could buy it for, no, not a trade-in, I'm sorry, no. And the other thing I should mention is that we probably will not have to, we won't have to buy in wood this year. There's going to be a logging operation. The Co-op Extension has marked it. My understanding is she'll be coming in the month of July to the commissioners with a proposal, with a RFP to put it out for bid for a logger. for the logger to come in and harvest our own trees off our own property.
So what you're asking for is approval to take $9,000 out of the capital reserve account,
Right.
which contains how much?
9,500.
How much is?
What?
About 9,500.
It's about 9,500, I believe. I looked at it in my budget, I didn't have it here.
Well, I'm having a difficulty in saying that we can do this if I don't know what you have in your budget.
Well, it's 9,500 is what we're asked to take out of capital reserve.
I know. And my question was, how much is in capital reserve?
At least 9,500.
Kathy, do you know the answer?
I can go down and check, but I believe it's 90, I will go down right now and check. I believe it is 9,500 from last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We encumbered it.
It was
A couple years ago when I asked for the money, I think it was Representative Merrow said, how about we at least put some into a fund, and that was $9,500. We encumbered it this last year to go towards the processor we talked about. So that's the money that Commissioner Sorensen's talking about that's already been sitting in there from a couple of years ago.
Okay. So, my next question is, what's the, what do you expect the payback to be? Are you going to earn an additional $9,500?
Yes, ma'am. I expect the payback to be on this new machine between the increase of campfire wood this year and having the log cut done on our property to be within 1 year or 1.3 years, right in that ballpark, say a year to year and a half, basically, because of the additional. To explain what I passed out real quickly, first page explains 2012 numbers with our old processor.
Yeah.
Page 2 says the same numbers, but if we had the new machine. Page 3 is what we're expecting this year because of, at the top it says because of the emerald ash borer. That's the expected jump. I did not get this phone call until late April, so I could not present this information to you folks, that they were going to have the quarantine. Today I have to make one of 2 calls. I'm hoping to make a good call that you guys allow this to happen, or I have to call down to the state campgrounds and tell them I cannot provide the amount of wood that they're asking this year. Because we have one tractor that has to do either wood processing or haying, and starting this week I got to start haying.
And if I remember correctly, we as a delegation turned down the money for a new wood processor. Is that correct? Okay. As part of the budget process. And what we're getting dropped on us today is whether or not we want to reverse our decision on the wood processor and lease it for a year.
5 years.
Or lease it.
5 years.
At least
5
5.
years.
With a $1 buyout at the end.
Okay, lease it for 5 years, okay? And with the,
A difference of 60,000 versus
with the
43,000.
projection that it will sometime, we won't have to expend any money because the money that we receive from this will pay for the machine.
Correct.
Is that a correct assumption?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion before we can have discussion, so could somebody provide a motion? Yes. Representative Butler.
I move that we approve the offer or the proposal to purchase or lease to purchase the new wood processor at $9,500 a year for 5 years with a $1 buyout at the end.
Do I have,
I'll second the motion for discussion.
okay. Representative Merrow.
Yeah, thank you. The thing that, it makes a lot of sense to me to do this if we're going to make money, but the one thing that has bothered me right along, and still bothers me, particularly since, I know what you said, but it's in here.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any sense to me to purchase wood, to cut, to sell.
Mhm.
I mean, you're taking it away from the other guys out there that are doing it. If you can do it on your own land, that's fine, and you're gonna have a timber cut. But are you gonna have enough cut to support this for 5 years, or are you gonna do it this year and then you're gonna go back to buying wood again?
Question you.
Assuming the forestry plan that is set forth, sir, that's supposed to happen. Whether we can have the forester get all this paperwork and the marking done every year is another question, but there is a forestry plan that Peter Bolt put out that supports this amount of wood, approximately this amount of wood, on a continuous basis to do what you're asking.
Can I, Madam Chair, can I make an amendment to say that the wood processed by this processor must come from county land?
Further discussion?
You can make that amendment.
I would like to do so.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Can I ask? Just a quick one. Madam Chair? may I?
Yes, please.
So with that motion, are you tying the hands of that wood processor forever?
I hope so.
But to me, that doesn't,
May I?
Okay. I need to leave, and I will leave this in the capable hands of Representative McConkey, who will let me know the results of this.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Babson, did you want to add something before we take comment?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. Representative Merrow, don't forget this first year, we have to use the wood that we have already purchased.
No, I understand that.
Well, your motion doesn't allow for that. It says that all wood will be taken off our own property.
I would revise my motion and say that they can process whatever was purchased. And I would say that rather than the life of the wood processor, at least for 5 years maybe. But it just doesn't make any sense to me to go into the business and do it as like buying wood, cut it and selling it. I don't see that.
Yeah. If we could, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand the desire to take the wood off of off the county's land, but I don't like the idea of restricting it only to wood taken from the county land. I understand we have 80 acres?
800.
800, so it starts with an 8. We have 800 acres, and we ought to be able to. But I think there may be times when it will be fiscally sound or responsible to purchase wood. We don't know what's going to happen with our forests relative to infestations and other problems. So I think I would not support the amendment, but I would support an amendment that said that we do as much as possible from the county lands.
Thank you. Representative Schmidt.
What are the state forestry people telling you about when the emerald ash borer is about to arrive in Carroll County?
As of what I know, as of right now, and some of you folks may know more down in Concord, it's been quarantined in Merrimack. My common sense would say it's probably going to spread to the rest of the state, at which time in the future, there may be some other option that we have to do, such as, give an example, and I brought this up at one point, something look to the future is Massachusetts and their state campgrounds have to have their wood kiln dried before they're allowed to sell it in the campgrounds. So putting up a kiln dried may be something we have to consider in the future. I think that's out a ways right now and there's no regulations, but that's just an idea that's happening at neighbor states because of the bugs.
But as soon as, if I could just follow up, as soon as they identify one of these borers here, then that market is gone, right? For the state.
Well, then it goes,
spread out.
Right, stays within the state.
It stays within the county.
Stays within the county.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This discussion went on in our committee, and what would happen at that point is they'd start cutting down the ash trees that have been involved, and then you'd process that wood, because they don't want it to survive, because it only goes from ash tree to ash tree. But the county would be shut down, not the whole state, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Go ahead, Representative.
If I may, my biggest concern is that in speaking to the amendment, that if we're taking wood from outside the county land, then we're competing with the private market. And I'm against that. I don't mind us cutting our own wood here because it's proper management of a forest to do that. But the minute we start buying it from outside, we're competing, and I don't like that at all.
Thank you, Representative Wright. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to the payback, I thought I heard that the revenue would be both from the sale of the processed camp firewood as well as from the logging. Can you clarify that for me in terms of the 1.3-year payback that you mentioned and the added revenue?
Yes, sir. What I put on your page 3 has nothing to do with the log cut. It's taking logs that we have out here and either selling them a little bit as cordwood, primarily campfire wood. That's where this revenue is coming from. That's the 1.3 years. I said if we have a log cut done here, which we are planning to do this fall, then we don't have to buy logs in. I mean, we have a savings on our expenditures because right now we buy logs in. So it's a savings on our expenditures, which means we can pay the processor off sooner because there's not as much expenditures going out. If that makes sense to what I said.
Cordelli.
Just to follow up if I could. What is the net revenue then if we buy the logs to run through the processor for the campwood? What is the net revenue that we get?
This is all talking about net right here, sir. I break out your expenses by the hour for how many cords the machine can do, and I give you a net figure. So our campfire wood figure of net is $21,685. Then we add in the cordwood, if we sold the same amount as last year, it would be another $9,361 to give us a total net of $31,047.
Thank you.
These are all net numbers, sir.
Representative
Thank you.
Crawford.
Mr. Chairman, the follow-up with Representative Wright on the question of competing with outside sources. Are we, and I don't know if you're talking about cordwood, is that what you're talking about, competing? So are we selling the cordwood at a discount price, or are we as competitive as the loggers or whoever's selling cordwood around the county?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. We are just as competitive. Most of the time, our price costs more. So I would not say that we are competing and taking business from anybody that's local. We are at their price or higher when we sell our product. So I don't believe that we are.
So you're giving the choice to the consumer on whether they want to purchase it from the county or if they want to purchase it from the logger down the street. I'm assuming we advertise it, or so
very little advertisement. The only advertisement I've done in the last 4 years is off of our website here at the county. I've not put it in any kind of paper. I've not put it on a line besides our website. And yes, it's up to the consumer. So if they want to buy it from us, or they want to buy it from them. And every bit of revenue that we bring in helps offset our taxes for the 45,000 people. That's the way I believe in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Butler.
Thank you. So if this amendment were to fail, I would propose another amendment that would encourage us to use as much wood as possible from our land, but to be responsible in terms of the fiscal soundness of the decision.
Okay, thank you. Representative Schmidt.
Just for my own clarification. So what we're looking at here is you're proposing to process 106 cords of firewood and 81 cords of cordwood with the new machine. Is that the total amount?
Yes, sir, because of that increase.
And you would be operating this machine for how long to accomplish that?
I don't know. I know you know the answer, sir, because you told me this last time, and you're doing the math, and it's black and white, and I understand that, but...
No, I'm still trying to get to that thing, is like, are we going to operate this rather expensive piece of equipment for 3 weeks a year, 4 weeks? How long are we going to run it for?
I would say on a normal year, if everything's perfect and lines up, probably 4 or 5 months of the year, 4 months maybe. But that's not an everyday figure either, sir. That's not 40 hours a day, or 40 hours a week, excuse me, running that either.
Thank you.
If I could, and then we'll get back to the motion. As commissioners will remember, we've had a robust conversation with our subcommittee on firewood for a great number of months, if not a year. And the last outcome that I remember was requesting to see and distribute the findings of the forester's report that was issued, and which talked about sustainability, how many times could be cut, what the yield was, could be expected from year to year, and I've never seen that information. And before we respond to that, I'd also ask that if we had any other proposals on wood processors, that information would come back through with new numbers and so forth. So I'm a bit set aside here, walking into a meeting where I saw just the other day that it was on today's agenda, today getting 3 sets of numbers again, and then speaking briefly with the chairman before she left, that she was made aware of this a little while ago. But may I ask the commissioners why we haven't followed up on getting that information to the subcommittee, and today we're looking at those numbers?
First of all, to answer your first question, we have a report that's sitting down in our office. It's a thick manual. It shows that the county forester inventoried all our woodlands, said what we could do, what we could harvest, so that it's sustainable from year to year to year. And I believe it's something like 150, 160 cords of wood that we could harvest off our property and still be sustainable every year. Why didn't it go to the subcommittee? Because in the advertisement of this meeting, it said anything could be brought up to this meeting and acted upon. And that's what we decided to do. We've had some breakdowns with our machine, and it set us back. Will came in Sunday to cut up some wood to try to meet the obligations that we have. He's salaried, and he doesn't have to come in, but he's a good worker and wants to see this pass.
Thank you. If I could follow with the commissioners. I will echo your sentiments about Will's outstanding performance, whether it be firewood, whether it be pigs, whether it be fruit needs to come off. He's there to do it. I don't discount one bit. There will be one day that we may not have someone just as giving as what we have right now, but I am very thankful for the job that he does. I hear that we are going to pay for our machine in 2 ways. One, we're going to be using our own wood, what we can, so that we're not paying for wood to come in. But I would believe that if we're using our own wood, it's also limiting the amount of wood that we're selling that's harvested, which helps pay for our cut, and that's normally as income, which is where we found $16,000 before, which was from our wood cut. And I also understand the second part of that is that we have an opportunity to move into more onion bag wood fire production. How much more time is that going to take than what we're doing right now? What are we going to sacrifice by increasing that production? Or what are we going to lose as far as maintenance goes for our facility? Because if we remember right, this department is maintenance and farm. I know we like to speak to it as a farm with maintenance, but I like to refer to it as a maintenance with farm. They have many duties that are very important. So how much more time is it going to take us to do this? And on top of that, other than to finance a brand new orange processor, tell me where the advantage is to do this, to sacrifice what I think would be duties that need to be done.
To answer your questions, if I can remember them. One, this machine is more efficient. It's self-propelled. It's got its own motor. While we can be using 9 inmates out there working on the wood, the other crew can be harvesting hay. When we need to pick up the bales, then it's switched off. Because it'll be more efficient and we can do it it probably the same time for the amount of wood, and you can correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong. It's not going to affect the time that is spent on maintenance. Maintenance has the high priority. If something needs to be maintained, then it's pulled off other jobs, and the crew works on the maintenance issue. I forgot your other questions.
Well, if I could come back with this, what percentage more in production is in your scenario, at least for this year, is anticipated to fill this new order?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm assuming you're asking about bags of wood, sir? So, to give you the number, I don't do some calculations, over 50% I would say, because last year for our total season, we did up about 6,500 bags, almost 7,000 bags, right in that ballpark. Right now, the busy season hasn't even started until 4th of July. Kids are just getting out of school this week. We've already shipped out over 4,500 bags this spring. We're projected, from the comments that I've gotten from down at the state, to do about 16,000 bags. So if you want to say 7,000 is a rough estimate last year to 16,000 this year, a little over 50% I believe that would come out to.
Time-wise?
Time-wise, it's more time. I have to be honest, I'm stuck in the middle of my feelings of, if you guys wanted us to make money, I make a commitment to this person, and I need the equipment to do it. So I'm making that equipment, I'm coming on the weekends to do it. I've mowed lawns here on the weekends, I've come in to process wood on the weekends to help meet this commitment to get this revenue. So yes, it is some more time. I think it's a bulged this year. I think that this whole ash borer thing may, go away, I don't want to say go away, but may expand next year. This may only be a one-year thing, and that's why I think it's a good time to capitalize on. Let's get as much revenue as we can this 1 year. It might go away next year, I can't guarantee that. But why not work as hard as we can to get that extra money? And what a good opportunity to put that extra money into the machine that we need to do things more efficient, in my opinion. But there is more time involved, yes, and we're doing that.
May I ask, has the construction been completed on the shed out in the field with the roof and the structure for that building that blew down?
No, it's not complete. We are working on it. That is also something that's on the to-do list.
Thank you. Could I just tell you, sitting here as acting chairman of the delegation, I am thankful for your service. May I tell you right up front to stop working on weekends to do jobs that you can't get done during the week. I would hope the commissioners would take that to heart.
And they do, but I also take to heart my job and trying to do the best we can and taking on these commitments.
Thank you.
I also, one other comment is, there was a lot of concerns. I know we went through a ton of numbers, as you pointed out, Chairman, this winter, and I hope that what we've done at this time includes all those other little expenses that we kept having to come back to the table with, what I have here. Representative Merrow asked about getting these wood cuts done, and we're working on it the best we can. And I know a lot of you are business owners here and have talked about different things, and I think most business people would agree if you can buy a piece of machinery and have it paid off within 3 years, you're doing a pretty good investment. And I'm trying to present something to you that's within that 3-year mark and even less with this machine. So I'm just concerned that when we get done with this meeting, I have to make 1 or 2 calls that we cannot commit to what the state campgrounds need for wood, and this goes to all the state campgrounds. Or we're going to make another call that would hopefully be getting us the machine. So that's just 1 of the 2 calls we have to make, and I hope that...
Thank you. Representative Merrow, I'll come back.
Thank you. I assume that when you make this wood cut, you're going to get some pine logs off of that.
Yes.
You're not going to use for firewood.
Yes, sir.
And I assume that some of the hardwood is probably going to be big enough for logs, which is going to give you a heck of a lot more money than firewood. And I assume that you're going to get logs rather than cut this hardwood up into firewood. Am I correct?
Yes. I don't have the exact amounts. Wendy has the exact amounts on board footage. I've only been concerned how much cordwood we're going to get off here. Is it enough that we don't have to buy wood?
My question is, you're not using it all for cut?
No, sir. You're right. You're exactly right.
Okay.
So there's going to be income from there.
Sept Cordelli, and then...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposed wood processor is a really dedicated machine to the production of the camp firewood. Is that correct?
Both. The campfire and the cordwood.
And cordwood, okay.
Yes. Primarily, we're doing more campfire wood, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Ogren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess
My only concern, or I guess my main concern, is that we have this windfall based on the fact of the emerald ash borer. I'm also on the same committee that Representative Merrow and Representative Wright are on. And, essentially my understanding is we have this opportunity because they found this bug in Merrimack County about 3 months ago, I think, or 4 months ago. They found it there, and the state quarantined them to be able to deliver firewood anywhere outside their county. So if we approve this and we purchase the machine, and in 20 days they find this bug in our county, what happens?
Well, then, obviously, we couldn't deliver outside of our counties there. I don't know. That's a risk we take. Or we also look at putting up a kiln to kiln dry so it can be certified to be delivered out of our county.
So we could still, if we invested money to kill, if I may follow up, I apologize. But so the answer would be we would have to invest money to kiln dry the wood.
It could be an option, from my understanding.
And that at this point, Merrimack County believes that that's not, the people in Merrimack County do not believe that that's a viable investment for them. So therefore, we have this opportunity.
We have he has two suppliers that he supplies to: the prison farm, state prison farm, and us, that supply to over 9 campgrounds combined. Okay? The other private business owners in Merrimack County, I have no idea. But as representatives, has there been any talk about giving the prison farm a kiln? I highly doubt it, because I work down there and I know they get the bottom of the barrel and have to do the best they can with what they have. And I'm sure that's not a top priority for the state to get them that. So they're missing out on that revenue, and that's why we're getting the bump this year. If it happened here, maybe we could make that investment and have a kiln, or have it kilned for us, however we cross that bridge when it happens. But that's an option, and so I don't know how else to answer your question. Yes, it could happen tomorrow, I don't know, but there's a lot of other things that could happen tomorrow too.
Agreed. So do we have an idea of how much additional investment it would take for us to purchase the kiln and what that would add in firing, in cord cost if that were to occur?
I have not done that research because we have not crossed that bridge yet. Right now I'm trying to sell you on the machine that I need to get the wood in the form that goes into the kiln. And I would get there when we cross that bridge. I got one thing at a time, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. For the commissioners, and I'll get us back here. Commissioners, have you looked at the pages of information brought forward with the analysis? Have you compared the analysis? Can you certify to me that the numbers that are presented to me are true and correct, and that you are comfortable with everything that's placed here before us?
I am very comfortable with what is placed before you, with the exception we haven't looked at selling the old machine. That could add $5,000.
Thank you. We will, is there further discussion? Yes, Representative.
Sure. 2 questions, or 1 question and 1 comment. In this lease to buy, is it possible for us to potentially buy this piece of equipment sooner rather than later if it becomes clear that that's a better investment?
Yes, sir. Talking to the finance company, there's no prepaid penalty, so next year, if the delegation put in our budget to pay off the remaining balance, we could go right ahead and pay that remaining balance off, because I anticipated that was going to be a question asked.
Thank you.
I know it was asked by the commissioners also.
To follow up on that, it cost us $1,000 a year to lease it. So that's $5,000. If we could pay it off, which he said there's no penalty, because we do have a landfall right now, then it'd be better off to pay it off. I don't like spending taxpayers' money. I think this is a place where we can save taxpayers' money by buying this machine, having more income to offset the farm budget.
And my only other comment is that it's clear to me that maintaining the machine that we have is getting more and more difficult, and the output is significantly less than the new machine that could be purchased. This has been a really challenging issue before us, but this even weights the argument, I think, in favor of purchasing the machine. I think one of the challenges is that we all, and I'm sure the commissioners as well, are juggling a lot of different balls at the same time, and it's hard to give us everything we need in as timely a fashion as we might want. But this convinces me that it is worth the investment to do now.
Thank you, Representative. Any other comment? Quickly, if we could, Commissioner Babson.
Thank you. I hope you people all realize that the current machine we have requires one of our 3 tractors that we use for haying to operate the machine. This, 2 tractors.
2 tractors, yeah.
This will give us the opportunity not only to make hay, but cut wood at the same time if we get more prisoners that come out that we need, or that the hay isn't baled, so we don't need them to stack it. There's advantages that can't be seen in the cost of this machinery, and I just hope that you all will consider that and support Willie and give me the opportunity to purchase this machine.
Thank you.
Thanks for recognizing me again.
Yeah,
I just have one more
Representative.
question, because I just have a little concern about the ash borer. So, what would be the timeline for us to be able to cut, to acquire the machine and cut and bag the wood and have it delivered to the state parks? When would you be done with that for this year's financials?
Right now, we've bagged about 10,000 bags. We've sold about a little over 4,000, 4,500 bags. So I got about 6,000 in reserve right now. So I need to get that other 6,000 to get up to the 16,000. That's something we're working on right now. The guys are bagging it right now. Every opportunity I have them bagging. What I've done right now is I'm trying to stockpile as much wood processed out on the ground to be bagged before I have to take that machine off the tractor to use it for haying. So I'm stockpiling as much as possible right now. The manufacturer is telling me anywhere from closer to 2 weeks, possibly up to a month to get that new machine. So I'm trying to stockpile as much as possible before I take that off. And ideally, we'd probably be done, I'm guessing, end of August, because the campfire wood season starts to wind down after Labor Day. So what we had in reserve would carry us through the fall. So we'd be bagging, I would ideally say, all the way through August, probably, to get to that 16,000.
Okay, so if I just might follow up, or to clarify, that you would believe that we would have completed our commitment in the contract of the 16,000 bags delivered, or out of the county, so to speak, by the end of August.
Yeah.
There may be a couple more loads that go out in August, but the majority, yes, sir.
Okay.
I cannot predict. They call me up when they need a load.
So certainly by the end of September.
Right.
Because
Usually your camping season is pretty much well done by the end of September, so yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Is there a possibility to the commissioners of leasing for $9,000, leasing a machine that would handle our windfall for this 1 year now?
To lease it for $9,000?
We have $9,500. Is there, you have a windfall of some more business that you are allowed. We don't know if it's going to continue going forward. We don't know if this ash bug is going away, if it's going to get worse. Have you looked at, with any of your manufacturers, leasing a machine for $9,000 this year without a commitment for 4 years after that?
No. Yeah, to me, it's no, but go ahead.
I have looked into that, sir, because I know yourself and Representative Schmidt have asked that question on the subcommittee. I've had no luck. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I've had no luck. I've called the original couple of people on Timberwolves. I've seen for sale, and I've seen leases and asked different dealers. This dealer this morning, for a matter of fact, did us a favor by bringing this out here. He's very reluctant to do that because as soon as you run a piece of wood through it, it chips up the paint and people think it's used and they don't want to buy it as a brand new price. To show that to the representatives that did happen to come by was very nice of him because he was very reluctant to do that. So it's very hard to get someone. I'm not saying it's not possible. You might have connections in your business world that can make that happen. I just have not run across those, and I have looked into it because it has been a question that you both have asked in the past.
Thank you. Yes.
Just one follow-up question. Earlier, there was some discussion about the balance or the total in the capital reserve account. I was wondering if we had gotten that information. Oh.
They were sure it was 9,500.
Okay.
9,500.
Okay, we will move to the motion. We just lost a representative. We will just take a break till that representative comes back.
Thank you.
Maybe we better vote quick.
Are we on the amendment or the motion, or do we
We're going
combine?
to deal with the amendment, and then we'll go back to the motion.
5 minutes at most.
Together, and let's go back and address the amendment. As I understand it, and I'm open for correction, amendment to the motion offered by Merrill was that wood for the processor going forward, not necessarily this year, but going forward, product would only be derived from cuts on our own property.
That would allow them to use what they've already purchased, the way you just stated, right?
So would you explain that to me one more time, please? Your motion.
My motion is, or should have been, anyway, is to allow them to use wood that they already have
On site.
done. And after that, with the 800 acres, it would seem to me that after that, it should be used only for their own property.
So your amendment is that presently, they will only be using wood that is on site and after.
Or already purchased.
Or already purchased. And going forward after that, they'll only use wood harvested from our own property. Does everyone understand that? Secretary, do you have that?
I do.
Okay. All right, so that's the amended motion for, we'll vote on the amendment, and then we'll go back to the underlying motion. Is everyone okay with that?
Didn't we have two motions? Didn't you make another one?
If this amendment fails, then I'll propose another.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor of the Merrill amendment, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes.
5.
5?
Doesn't matter. It still doesn't.
Still fails, okay. All right. Okay. All right, so that, Representative Butler, do you have a new motion?
I do not.
Okay. So then the only motion before us is what was brought up and was passed. Okay. Any other business before us?
So now on to pass as amended.
Representative Butler moves ought to pass as amended.
Second.
Seconded
Representative
by Representative Wright. Comment, question? Representative Cordelli?
Just a comment that I guess I have a more limited sense of this role of government, and since I fear, even with using county wood, that we're in competition with private individuals and companies, I don't think it's really our role, and so I'll be voting against the motion.
Thank you, Representative. I'd just like to add before we vote, my opinion of whether it was the processor for $20,000 more, whether it was this processor. I have had issues with, number one, our role as a county government taking away business from others, number one. Number two, we're trying to justify spending money by what we might be able to save going forward. I'm against that. I have, as a businessman, have not been in agreement with the numbers as brought forward. I have a concern that we started a project 2 years ago to erect a building which would allow us to keep our wood dry and seasoned and to keep our equipment out of the rain and snow. That building, through no fault of our department, fell down. It's been down for probably months, if not a year. We have not found time to reconstruct a building that we know would be a benefit to us. I believe we should be, instead of spending 4 to 6 months out of the year processing wood, we should be doing maintenance and other items around here. I will not vote in favor of spending $45,000 in doubling the amount of time we're going to take to produce firewood for campgrounds that can be produced by the public at large. Any other comment before we move forward? Representative White.
I'm going to vote in favor of it, and for the reason that the income that we get from investing in this equipment will offset the county taxes, and I think we should look for any way that we can to offset that amount. And from what I heard of how we're going to use this equipment and the figures that were presented, I think it's a wise investment.
Thank you so much. Without further comment, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion will raise their hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against? 2, 3. Motion passed. 4? Including me, 4. Thank you.
4.
Okay. Any other business before us?
Thank you, representatives, for doing that.
Delegation.
Thank you very much. Did the right thing.
If I could bring up a couple of questions that I had. First, to the commissioners, I was just wondering, after discussion with our chairman who had to leave early, I had sent an email to the commissioner's email box regarding IT committee, and I was just wondering if you would, I hadn't heard back, and that was about a month ago, and I was just wondering if you would receive that, and if you had any response.
Have you been on the computer? Have you received it?
I'm not sure, I don't remember.
It was basically...
She doesn't remember. She goes on the computer to pick that up.
Okay. I was just wondering if there had been...
I will say that the chairman of that group is the HR person, and we just hired a new person. She starts the 15th of July. I think you made the comment that, if I could, Mr. Chairman, that in our advertisement, we didn't require certain requirements that you felt was necessary. I think I responded to you that we didn't have the money to get the person that would have the real requirements. We ended up, I think, in very good shape in selecting this woman to fill that position. She was with the local government, so she has a lot of contacts. She worked for the town of Derry. She worked for the town of Dover previously. I think we've hired a good person, and we're looking forward to...
And Meredith. And Meredith.
And Meredith, okay. I think we've hired a good person to fill that slot.
Good.
Okay.
Pleased to hear that. I would just ask that sooner rather than later that the IT committee gets up and running again, because in our discussion with the chairman, there have been some issues raised. And if I could bring up one other issue.
Please.
Just in terms of, general in terms of competitive bidding, I think it's incumbent upon us as public servants, as government officials, whenever, especially with the RSAs requiring competitive bidding of over $5,000 for equipment and materials, that we go out to competitive bid whenever reasonable, especially in those circumstances. And I'm thinking of the earlier discussion about the audit report, but also I watched a tape of an earlier commissioner meeting in regard to security cameras that had been in the budget for the jail, and I was concerned in that it seemed like there was a motion approved without any dollar figure associated with it in a no-bid situation. And it concerned me greatly that certainly when we're approving anything, we should know the cost and not just go with a high-end budget figure. And certainly, we should try and enter into a competitive bidding situation so we can get the best price for taxpayers.
We get 2 bids. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna respond to that.
Yes.
Can I get a comment? I'd like to comment on the IT. You said you sent it an email. You wanted to know, I believe you said it on one last meeting that you wanted to be part of the IT committee. When Janet Sullivan was here, we did have an IT committee meeting. I was the only commissioner who attended because it was about Kronos. I asked her many times to figure out how Kronos work because she said she works before with Kronos, so she can get it up and running very quick. And there were other people here from department heads were here and other employees. And she really took her time and wrote down everything, what was wrong, all their complaints. And she really worked hard and fixed Kronos in a couple months and get it up and running. And about the second comment about the no bid, the contract, we get this early in the morning from Jason Johnson. So I read quick through it and I voted for it in the first place. And later when I saw there was no dollar amount, the next week I went back and I rescinded the vote. But unfortunately it failed because I didn't have the support. And I get some information, the cameras cost now, I believe $38,000. So it's actually more than it was budgeted for. I believe the amount budgeted was $35,000. And also in the $38,000 is travel, because these people are coming from another state.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, any other business before us? I would just mention that the Performance Audit Committee will meet real briefly right at the end here to set a date for our next meeting. Other than that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
We need to go into convention on this last.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order, is there going to be a public comment?
Yes, there will be. I apologize. We will get there. I apologize. Okay, so move to go in convention would be in order. Second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Harry.
So move into convention on the motion, and if we could have the motion as we understand it to be.
About the amendment.
The amendment.
Representative Butler passes an amendment for, I'm a little confused, I'm sorry.
That's all right, take a moment.
Let me go back to the original one. Representative Butler approves the proposal to lease to purchase $9,500 a year for 5 years with $1 to buy out at the end of 5 years, seconded by Representative McConkey. Representative Merrow makes a motion for the wood processor going forward for products from our own property. Allowed use already have or already purchased. And wood harvested from our own property, all in favor, 6 opposed and 5.
Okay. Does everyone understand the motions as read?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Representative Butler, what do we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Those opposed, raise your hand. 4. Move to come out of the convention.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Representative Cordelli?
One brief thing. I brought some information, if any representatives are interested. I attended a meeting of a company called WEDCO, which is Wentworth Economic Development Corporation. They aid businesses, financial and seminars and so forth. They don't get up to the Conway area, it's a separate group, but they cover the rest of Carroll County, and feel free, to take some for any businesses in your area.
Thank you. Public comment? Will, you want to start? Steve, I'll get you afterwards. Yes.
Very rare do I say anything public comment, but I just wanted to thank the delegation today. I think I am a taxpayer of this county, and I think that I fight very hard to do things when I believe it's the right thing for the taxpayers, because I'm paying those taxes also. And I just want to thank you very much for the support of that wood processor, because I think it is a good thing for the county. Otherwise, I wouldn't be as persistent and a pain in the butt that I tend to be if I don't believe in it also. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve?
Excuse me, I have a few things, if you don't mind,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. First off, the RFPs that are going out. These are only RFPs to determine interest in private or public entities willing to do the renovations for the space that they may or would like to use in the old nursing home. That's number one. Number two, that BPS estimate is just that. It's an estimate. 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and 12 have never gone out to actual bid. And will they go out at some point to an actual bid? Is the actual bid for these, is this part of this RFP process? Or is it only to entertain public or private entities willing to expend monies to do the renovations in any space that these entities would like to pursue?
The question is to the delegation.
Correct.
Okay. My understanding, and I stand to be corrected, is that the commissioners are going to formulate these RFPs, and it would be my hope that they're going to signify X amount of space that's available, and they will then work the parameters of how much they want to go for and how much they're willing to spend. As far as the estimates from Bonnet Page and Stone, when they move forward, we know those are just truly estimates, and before the process complete and that they'd accept the RFPs, I know they would have to go out to bid, and I fully expect, as Representative Butler had brought before, that all of these projects will go out to bid.
My next thing is on the audit. It has been brought forth today that we're actually getting a financial statement. A financial statement, to be in having an accounting background, a financial statement is just that. A financial statement is not as concise as an audit would be. It's a snapshot in time, if you will. And therefore, we're really not getting an audit. We're getting an audit of a financial statement, or just one short snippet of a point specific in time, and that's really, I don't believe, the correct process that should be moving forward with an actual audit, because you're really not getting an audit. You're getting an audit of a watered down financial statement, and I have an issue with that.
Thank you. I understand that.
Okay, and my last thing would be the wood processor. Is it the spirit of the government to be looking for ways to expand government? I heard Representative Butler believe that all of the foregoing that we've heard today about the wood processor, that in fact it is financially sound to expand government into the wood processing operation. I've heard time and time and again that, well, we're going to use inmates in the jail. That incentivizes the government to incarcerate more people to expedite the wood process operation. I don't think, especially with all this going on in the, whether it be local, county, federal, that we should really be in the business of expanding any government at any level at this point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with public comment? Yes.
If I could, a good thing. Last week, we had a ceremony dedicating the flagpole at the new nursing home. The flagpole donation was $1,500, and it came from Exit Real Estate. First name was Carroll, I can't remember her last name.
Gotland, Gartland.
Gotland, okay. We had a fantastic ceremony. The administrator of nursing home put it all together. Fantastic honor guard from Wolfboro.
Ossipee.
With?
Ossipee.
Ossipee, I'm sorry. But it was well done. A lot of residents were out there in wheelchairs. I can't say enough for the donation. It was given through the 501c3 organization so that they can get a tax break on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm sure we'll all be looking forward to attending the County Farm Day in July.
And with the date of that?
27.
27 July, last Saturday of July. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Thank you one and all for coming. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Seconded? Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
All right.